Guaranteed income. What is guaranteed income? Why Santa Clara County Supervisor Susan Ellenberg is a strong supporter for this concept? Be with us and find out. Hello, we're with Santa Clara County Supervisor Susan Ellenberg, and we're going to talk about guaranteed income. Welcome to our show, Susan.
Thank you so much for having me, Diana. I'm delighted to be here.
Yeah, thank you. So you are the supervisor for District 4, and tell us about your district and who you supervise.
Sure. I'll start a little bit broadly, if that's all right. Santa Clara County is a county of almost 2 million people. We're made up of 15 cities plus a number of unincorporated pockets. And just like every county in the state, there are 5 elected supervisors that are responsible for the county budget and a number of other policies. My district is District 4, which includes the cities of Campbell and Santa Clara, an unincorporated pocket called Burbank, and many of the neighborhoods in West San Jose. We each represent about 400,000 residents.
Wow, that's lots of people, right? There are so many policies, but today we're going to talk about guaranteed income. You know, I asked this to many of my friends in the community, and very few of them knows about this.
Well, I am excited that we are going to change that today. Happy to explain what guaranteed income is, why this is a program that we're pursuing, and how it helps not only the community members that receive the money, but all of the community members around them as well.
So when is this program started, and what is this program about?
So guaranteed income, quite literally, is a program where a targeted group of people are guaranteed a specific amount of money for a specific period of time. And we don't do this universally. We don't give out money to everybody. The county looks at populations that have particularly high needs or particular vulnerabilities that we generally have responsibility for. And that includes foster youth and former foster youth. It includes people that are receiving Medi-Cal for their health insurance because their incomes are at a level where they qualify. We are responsible for folks that are engaged in the justice system, in our jails and coming out of them. And essentially people that are struggling in some way, have experienced some kind of trauma, legal, economic, social, housing. And our goal is to help people return to a self-sustaining position. And guaranteed income does that because when you think about at the most basic level, what most people need is money. And people who are poor don't necessarily have trouble making decisions or understanding how to budget. They literally have a cash problem. And what we have found is that if you give people money that they can rely on without any strings for about 2 years' time, that is enough time for people to pay off debts, make decisions about what they need regarding their housing, maybe their transportation, their work, their education, their children, start to save a little bit of money. And the idea is that at the end of that period, they are stable enough that they can keep going without that extra cushion.
So how much money your county have, and how much money each one of them can receive?
So right now we have 4 programs, and each one is slightly different. And they're called pilot programs, not because we're not sure they work, but because we don't have an ongoing funding stream for them. So when we can identify specific funding, we will allocate it to a particular population. The first cohort that we created was a group of former foster youth, young adults between 18 and 24, who, when they exited the foster care system at 18 years old, had virtually no supports, no family, and had a very, very hard time really starting to launch themselves. We're mothers, and you know how hard it is, even with every resource in the world, to help our children around 18 or 19 years old transition to being a little bit more independent. So what we have found is that giving these young adults some cash helps them be able to think a little bit more clearly about their future. And we have found that some of these young people have spent money to augment their rent, sometimes to move from 2 or 3 different part-time jobs to one job that is more of a career builder, but maybe they couldn't have done that on their own without the additional money. Some have used it for childcare to go back to school. Some have used it for education and books. And what's important to know is that the amount of money that they receive ranges from a few hundred to about $1,500 a month, depending on the program. It is in no way enough money to discourage people from working. They're not going to be able to live on guaranteed income. It is meant to be enough of an additional bump that it allows somebody to catch their breath and to be able to make decisions in a more forward-looking way.
Thank you for the explanation. Sometimes people will say, "Oh, we work hard and we make more money," and those people, but actually they really lack of resource. It's grown up in that background, right?
Sure. And when you think about it, people who are well resourced receive money from the government. We get tax rebates. We get mortgage deductions. There are essentially rewards for having money, and in a tax rebate or a tax deduction, that's money that we're able to keep, and the government doesn't say you have to spend it on this and you can't buy that with it. So in some ways, we're really just evening the playing field for folks that don't have those resources and can't take advantage of buying a Tesla and getting $30,000 back. So there is precedent for this, and we have had for a long time a social safety net that has been very categorized. People apply to see if they're eligible to receive nutrition support, supplemental nutrition dollars. Some people apply to see if they're eligible for affordable housing or for subsidized childcare. This concept of guaranteed income says we're not going to have you be so specific. You need money for this that you can't spend on that. But to give you a set amount of money and say, you decide.
But, do you follow up, and how do you guarantee that they will use this money properly and develop themselves?
That is I think, the most critical question. And we follow up very closely. We evaluate each program as it's happening, and it's still very new, so we don't have ourselves longitudinal studies yet, but we will keep track of these folks, and we see examples from older programs around the country in other cities and counties that have been successful and show that the data shows that most of the people spend most of the money in a way that improves their economic stability, which, again, if you think about those of us who may be better resourced, hopefully most of us spend most of our money in sensible ways that help us advance our lives. Part of the magic, I think, of the guaranteed income is that we sometimes have people test early on, well, what if I spend it on this? Well, what if I want to take my child for a vacation we've never had a vacation for? Can I spend the money on that? And people are stunned to hear it's your money. You have agency to spend it in the way you like. And after people really get comfortable with that idea that it's not going to be taken away, they most often start to make very good decisions.
It's wonderful. When I heard this, I'm so touched. I think it's really important to take care of this underprivileged people. Our county did a wonderful job $12 million already benefit nearly 900 people.
Yes.
But where are those money come from?
So some of the money comes from our general fund, and our general fund means local property tax dollars. The county last year had a budget of about $12 billion, but the majority of those dollars are state and federal funds that are passed through. The county essentially is an administrative arm for a lot of social services. We do have some local dollars, and that's where we're able to be more innovative and creative with how we spend it. So for the former foster youth program, we've used a combination of general fund and private philanthropy. For the unhoused high school seniors, which is one of our newer programs, we got a grant from Senator Dave Cortese, so that is state funding. Our population for our program for justice-involved clients has really come from a number of state, local, and private sources. And if it's all right, I'd love to say a little bit about that pilot in particular, because I brought that proposal to my colleagues, and I wasn't sure that it would pass. And I heard, not from my colleagues, but in the community, a lot of skepticism. Why would you give money to people who have been in jail? Maybe I should commit a crime so that I can get money from the government. Kind of a lot of hostility around that. They've done something wrong, are we rewarding them? And ultimately, I had unanimous support for this, and what I think the secret sauce was that I had letters of support from both the county sheriff and the chief of police in Santa Clara, Chief Nicolai, who was the only elected police chief in the county. They both acknowledged that helping to support people who are coming out of jail, who are coming back to our communities because this is where they live, with or without support, if we truly want our communities to be safer and we don't want people to commit crimes or harm again and again, we need to be part of that solution, whether that's helping them get access to housing, to education, to jobs, and yes, just to cash to spend in the way they need to spend will make our community safer.
Yes, I do agree with you. You know, when you trust people and give them the choice and prevent them from, committing the crime again.
And you're also treating people with dignity and not suggesting that because you committed this type of harm, that's all you'll ever be. And we can't look beyond that, and we can't see the potential in you to make other choices if you're only given the resources to make those choices. So I'm very proud of that work and excited to see the results.
Thank you for that proposal. I can see that. I see you everywhere, especially on the community events. We run into each other very often, right? Yes. So I see that you have a passion, great passion to our community. I know that you graduated from a law school. So what's your background and what led you to this elected official?
I'm calling this my third act, essentially. Yes, I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I moved to New York City for undergraduate college and then went to law school there.
You could become a lawyer.
I was a lawyer for a very short time. I practiced law for 3 years. It was not the right career move for me. Law school is an excellent education, and I know that I think like a lawyer, and I think it has provided tremendous value in other work that I've done, but I just didn't love the practice of law. I was home with my children for a number of years, which was an incredible privilege to be able to do, and then I started teaching. I taught social justice for 6 years to middle school students, and that was really transformative. I taught my students, and from there I got a job at the Chamber of Commerce leading leadership development programs, community engagement, civic engagement. I did workshops for companies and organizations that wanted to have even a summer camp to understand better how they could be involved in their community. And it was through that work that I ultimately decided in 2013 to run for a seat on the San Jose Unified School Board. My youngest daughter was a freshman there, and the school board was talking about a policy to reduce the number of credits required to graduate. I thought that was a bad idea. When I couldn't get a satisfactory answer as to why that was good for students, my daughter said, well, Mommy, you're teaching your students how to be engaged in their community and work with elected officials. You should run for his seat. So I did. And I was elected to the school board in 2014. And while I was there, I learned some really incredibly important lessons.
What's the lesson?
The most important one was looking at the students who were perpetually behind their peers in academic success. The issues that were holding them back were very rarely intellectual or academic aptitude. They were socioeconomic factors. These were kids who didn't have stable places to sleep at night, didn't get enough food to eat every day. They were often witnesses to or victims of violence. They were responsible for the child care of their younger sibling. There were so many things that were going on in their lives that they could not focus on school. And school districts don't deal with most of those issues. County government does. So I looked at the county as the place where I could work to better support these children and their families. And that's what I've been doing since 2019.
You know, I'm truly touched by your story. It's so important for our next generation. They are our future. Yeah.
They're our future. They are actually very much our present. I see young people leading on environmental sustainability work, leading on sensible gun legislation, leading on healthy relationships and anti-harassment work. When I talk especially to teenagers, I thank them for what they're doing today. They are already engaged. I certainly hope they all go out and vote, those that are 18. And maybe you know that 16 and 17-year-olds can register to vote while they are still in high school, which I think is really important.
That's a different topic we can talk next time, because I heard
Absolutely.
many people like this idea, but I also heard so many complaints. But
Okay.
that could be our next topic.
I would love
Yes,
that.
wonderful. So today we're talking about guaranteed income. How long do you think this program can last?
Well, for each particular cohort, what we're finding is that 2 years is about the right amount of time. What will be ideal is that if we find ongoing funding sources, when one cohort finishes, we can start another one. Right now, we don't have those dollars. And last year, our budget, when we started our budget discussions at the end of the fiscal year, we were looking at a $250 million deficit. We, of course, had to close that because by state law, we have to pass a balanced budget. But it required a lot of trimming. This year, we're looking at a deficit of probably about $40 million. So it will be hard, but I am very committed to this work because I know that it's effective. So I will be looking under every cushion for funding.
Well, thank you for your commitment and your contribution to our society. And also, I hope that you mentioned about those young people's story can also be part of our Asian American stories. That's what we are doing every year.
I would love to make some connections for you. I think that would be fabulous.
I heard that there were a film talking about this guaranteed income, right?
Yes, there is a documentary called It's Basic, which was made several years ago, and my office is hosting a free screening on November 7th at 6 p.m. at the Pruneyard Theater in Campbell. Following the screening, we will be doing a panel conversation. And again, the event is free. It does require advanced registration on Eventbrite, and we can share that
Okay,
link
sure.
so that you can pass it out. But I hope that many of your audience will come watch the film, ask questions, and learn more about this program.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. And we're going to share the link with our audience. Thank you for coming to our show.
Thanks very
Yeah,
much.
hope
Thank you
to
for
see
inviting
you-
me.
Yeah, hope to see you next time and discuss about the more important issues next time.
I would love to do that, and I'm sure in the meantime I will see you everywhere in the community.
Yes, yes, we do. Thank you.
Thank you.